Protests against Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, have gained prominence in Israel during the COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing trial of Netanyahu. For various corruption scandals, protesters have accused Netanyahu of subjecting the law as part of his fight in the criminal proceedings against him. The demonstrators are protesting against Netanyahu's continued tenure in the shadow of his criminal charges, claims of his preference for personal good over the good of the state, and demands to investigate the submarine affair. One of the hotspots most identified with the protests is the compound near the Prime Minister's residence on Balfour Street in Jerusalem. As of April 2021, the demonstrations continue to take place in various places in the country. In the summer of 2016, the individual protest began by a small group of citizens. In December 2017, the protesters initiated a demonstration in Tel Aviv and a parade on Rothschild Boulevard against the French law, which were intended to thwart the possibility of filing indictments against Netanyahu. The demonstration was called the Shame Parade and was attended by tens of thousands of people. After the 23rd Knesset elections, President Reuven Rivlin imposed the government formation on a blue and white Benny Gantz. Outgoing Knesset Speaker Yuli Edelstein refused to vacate his seat as the chairman and prevented the establishment of parliamentary committees, including a committee to discuss the parliamentary immunity of Netanyahu. Following this, the Black Flags protest broke out in March 2020. Shikma Bressler and her brothers Eyal and Yarden Schwartzman initiated protest convoys to the Knesset, as well as demonstrations near the homes of parliamentary members of the Israel Resilience Party. Former Prime Minister Ehud Barak rallied and called on social media to wave black flags from balconies and windows. On the 16th of March, he wrote, "When there are 1 million of them on every window and balcony, the defendant will go home, the court will not be closed and the Knesset will not be closed. We, the citizens, cannot go through with it." The protests are taking place without any centralized leadership. Key activists include Amir Haska from the individual protest, Ishe Hadass from the Prime Minister group, Uri Nachman who opened the siege on Balfour, lawyer Gonan Ben Itzak who accompanies the protests legally, and the independent journalist Olai Balev who covers the protest and posts it on social media. On the 23rd of July, the Ministry of Public Security Amir Ohana approached Balev with an invitation to a meeting with protest representatives. She rejected the invitation on the grounds that it was a popular protest with no representatives to speak on behalf of the people. In December 2019, Uri Nachman, a member of Likud Central Committee, began the siege of Balfour, near Beit Agion, the Prime Minister's residence in Jerusalem. Hundreds demonstrate against Netanyahu near his official residence. Again, she believed that this was the address for the protest, and this is the only way to make a change in Israel. But she remained alone, and her protest did not gain momentum. On the 6th of June, Nachman returned to Balfour for a 24-hour siege and slept there alone. On the 10th of June, Amir Haska joined her and posted on social media about the opening of the sit-down strike in Balfour. He wrote, "Have you seen the demonstrations in the White House in Washington? Now we want Washington to see the demonstrations in front of the Prime Minister's residence." There were 10 to 50 people in the protest compound. Some slept in sleeping bags on the sidewalk, and some at neighbors in the area, who opened their homes to protesters. Passers-by entered the compound to express support for the protesters. The main event is a Kabbalat Shabbat, which attracts a large crowd, and activities such as lectures, concerts, performances, meditation, and public singing took place. On the 26th of June, police dispersed the weekly Kabbalat Shabbat demonstration and arrested Amir Haska, an ex-general who was speaking there. The reason for the arrest was that he blocked the road for about 2 hours. The demonstrators claimed that this was an excuse since they were standing on the sidewalk. Along with Haska, 7 activists were arrested. They were offered to be released in exchange for an undertaking not to come to Balfour, but they refused. The arrest of Amir Haska provoked outrage on social media, and for the first time, The institutionalized media reported on the individual protest. The arrest was perceived as a political arrest. Out of all the protest organizations came a call not to leave Haskar alone. The day after the arrest, hundreds marched to the Russian compound and to the magistrate's court, where the detainees were. Then public figures also arrived for the first time, including Moshe Yaalon and Knesset members from all opposition parties. On Sunday morning, a judge released them uncondemned.